everyone, it's Paige. Welcome back to my channel. I did miss uploading last week, so you are officially allowed to roast me in the comments because I'm just the worst. But today is going to be a book wrap-up. So I finished a total of 2 books in October. And I'm going to talk about those books because they were really good, but since there were only 2 books that I finished in October, I'm also going to talk about the 2 books that I'm currently reading. Sit on down and let's talk about these books. It's going to be a pretty short video. Really quickly though, before we get into the books, I just want to give a shout out to 2 of my subscribers. I posted a picture on Instagram of Troy and I's Halloween costumes, which were Sam and Tucker from Danny Phantom. And I said in my Instagram post that I would give a shout out to whoever could guess our costumes. So those 2 people were XX, Britmint XX, and J and E. Anyway, the first book I'm going to show you is actually a horror novel, so we haven't completely abandoned the theme of Halloween yet. So I actually mentioned this 2 videos ago when I was doing my Spooky October book haul, and yeah, I read it. So I read Horrorstor by Grady Hendrix. I have been wanting to read this book for so long, and finally it happened. For a brief synopsis, this is a horror supernatural novel set in a place that is very much like IKEA, except it's called Orsk. And every morning that the employees come into Orsk, they find like weird things out of place, strange markings and stains on the furniture. And thus, the general manager decides to bring on a couple employees to stay overnight at Orsk to see what's going on. Is somebody like breaking in at night? Personally, I love IKEA. Like a lot. Like every time I go there, it's just a feeling of joy that overcomes me. So I was curious about how Grady Hendrix was going to transform a setting that I find so aesthetically pleasing and that's so contemporary into like a horror scene. But I think he did just such an amazing job. Like it's honestly everything that I hoped it would be. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, but it's probably about 4.5 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because I was hoping that the haunting or like the problem in this book would be a little bit less traditional, and it took a very traditional route, which I wasn't super like displeased with, but considering how unique the synopsis and setting are, I was kind of expecting maybe something more unique slash like, I don't know, like contemporary or something. That being said, I immensely enjoyed this and I'm still thinking about it even though I finished this like a couple weeks ago. It just like there's something about it that just like sticks with you, and I don't think I'll ever see an IKEA the same way ever again, because there is actually something really creepy about like abandoned furniture stores. If you like any sort of supernatural thing, if you like humor, I don't know, like I would literally recommend this to almost anyone because I enjoyed it that much. And that's the way it is. So you gotta read it, you know, you just gotta read it. I like it a lot. It's good. Okay, so the second book I finished in October was actually last week, and that was The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. I mentioned this book in my back to school TBR video because I was assigned this book for one of my college classes. I had no idea what to expect apart from the fact that I knew that this book is semi-typically taught in middle school classrooms, and that it is, you know, about a Hispanic girl growing up in Chicago. That's literally all I knew about it. But I feel like that's very misleading. This book is definitely much more of a feminist piece. Like literally the dedication in this book is a las mujeres, to the women, which was surprising to me when I first opened the book because, like I said, I had thought that this was not so much about being a woman or a girl in Chicago, but more so just growing up in a Hispanic neighborhood in Chicago. I expected maybe some talk about racism, but in reality, this book is very much about like her trying to free herself from those bonds of like gender roles in the Hispanic community that she's a part of. It's a darker view of Hispanic culture, especially from Esperanza's point of view, because she's constantly trying to get away from Mango Street, which is where she lives in and where kind of these Hispanic cultures or communities have come together. So like I said, it's just it just wasn't what I expected at all. You should definitely give it a try if you haven't already, because this is, like I said, not a book that's strictly or even like mostly for middle graders. Like, this is absolutely wonderful for anybody to read, because it's very like empowering. Her language and the rhythm of her sentences is like wonderful. It's just so pleasing to read. It reminds me of a couple creative nonfiction books that I've read, but this is not nonfiction at all. I gave this 5 stars, so I hope that you give it a try and that you like it as much as I did. It's not like it takes them much time to read, since this is like 100 pages or something. It's well worth the time that you put into it. Okay, these next 2 I'm about to show you are books that I'm in the process of reading. I'm about halfway in both of them. This book, Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, I got in that spooky Halloween book haul video. And I actually said in that video that I was craving the boarding school setting so much that I would probably start this book soon, and I wasn't lying. Like, I literally started this a couple weeks ago. It's been hard for me to find the time to like binge read it, otherwise I probably would be done by now. But this is a young adult mystery thriller novel that follows this like young wannabe detective that applies to go to this academy, like this private academy called Ellingham Academy. And this young detective wants to attend Ellingham because the academy's sort of notorious for this like crime that happened many years ago, where the headmaster slash the founder of the school, his wife and daughter were actually kidnapped and never found again, and the mystery was never solved. So Stevie, our young detective, wants to go to Ellingham and solve it once and for all. I absolutely love the Truly Devious like puzzle rhymes that are in this book. They're like so creepy, but I sort of love them. I also love Ellingham. I love the like the setting of Ellingham, like these like Greek statues that are around and like sort of creepy but super cool, and the gardens and the buildings. Like, I would love to go to Ellingham like so much. The only thing that I am not super hot about is the double perspective. So this isn't a spoiler since it happens literally like right away, but the perspective is split in 2, and one perspective follows Stevie, who was our young detective in present day, and the other perspective is set in the 30s when the like crime kidnapping took place. So like slowly over time the reader starts to gain details about the mystery, literally kind of from like a first-hand experience through these perspectives. And we also get to see like Stevie's progress in solving the crime. And just for some reason, I'm just not super sold on that perspective from the 30s. Like, obviously you're being supplied with like what happened that night that, you know, the headmaster's wife and daughter went missing, you know, and like that should be interesting, and to some extent it is, but I always find when I'm on a chapter from the 30s or when the crime happened that I'm missing Stevie and like her perspective. So I don't know. I'm really not in far enough to have a concrete opinion about it, but I will say that if the 30s perspective like kicks it up a notch, I already like Stevie's perspective in Ellingham enough that this could potentially be like a 5-star book for me. Okay, last but not least, I'm also working my way through The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. This is another book that was in my back to school TBR because I'm reading this for that class. This follows a Native American boy named Junior who struggles with several different like physical disabilities, but he has dreams of becoming a like comic artist. So he decides that he's going to leave his Native American reservation and he's going to like attend basically like a all-white school where the mascot is like an Indian. I'm not as far in this one as I am in Truly Devious, but I can definitely see the appeal. It kind of reminds me of A Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I never really read those as a kid, but I know that they were popular, and I think I saw the movie once, and I've seen like the illustrations. There are definitely like very similarly drawn illustrations in this book, except this book is definitely, you know, much more mature than Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So I kind of thought, you know, this would be a great transition for like kids going either into like high school or like they're maybe middle school kids. I felt like this would be a great book to help them transition out of that more like elementary school writing. I find this absolutely hilarious and heartbreaking. It's like something funny and something absolutely tragic happens on every page. People have told me that this book has made them cry like uncontrollably. I'm just hoping that the tears are worth it and that I won't like conclude this book feeling absolutely like distraught for no reason. But if I am, then that's just a sacrifice I have to make. Anyway though, those are my 4 books. So I'm gonna wrap up the video here. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe as always. And if you haven't already, please follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads. Hope you guys are having a great week, and I will see you back here very, very soon. Bye!